Hello everyone, welcome to the 7th video lecture of class 9 science. So we are dealing with the last part of our first unit, that is measurement. So in this lesson we will be learning about the accuracy and errors. So whenever we are carrying out any kind of measurement, there will be two terms we'll be frequently using, that they are accuracy and precision. Sometimes we use these words when we carry out the measurement, like how accurate the measurement is, how precise the measurement is. So these are the common words which we will be using when we talk about measurement. So it is very much important for us to know what exactly they are. Okay, the first one, that is accuracy. The accuracy is defined as the closeness of a measured value to the actual value or a true value. So how close the measured value is to the actual value of that measurement. So that is what is our accuracy. Then the next one is precision. So the precision is the closeness of two or more measurements to each other. So if I am measuring length of a book, so I'm carrying out the same measurement. I'm measuring the length of the book for 3 times. Okay. So how close those 3 measurements are, that will give us the precision of that measurement. Okay. So these two are very basic words which we'll be using in our when we talk about measurement. So it is important for us to know about it. When measuring physical quantities, accuracy is very much important. Accuracy is the measurement. Accuracy in measurement is central in engineering, physics, and all branches of science. So whenever we carry out measurement in science or in physics especially, or in engineering, or any kind of activities in science, accuracy of that measurement is very much important. So if we go away from the actual value, if I'm carrying out some chemical experiment, if I'm asked to take 10 ml of an acid, if I have taken 100 ml of an acid, so the result will be a different one, and it may lead to some other things also, right? So accuracy is very much important. If I am asked to take 10 ml of an acid or a base, I have to take 10 ml. It should not be 10.5 ml or 9.5 ml. It should be very close, very accurate measurement we have to be using. We should be very accurate in measuring the things. Okay, so otherwise it may lead to some other things. So it is also important in our daily life. The accuracy is very much important in our daily life also. For example, while cooking, so we should know how much salt we should be adding. That accuracy we should know. If I'm adding according to my wish, the taste of the food will be spoiled, right? And even we have seen, whenever we go to jewelry shop, we are buying a gold ornament or gold, so we know how accurately, how neatly they will be weighing the gold, right? So because gold is very precious, in place of 2 milligrams or 2 grams, if they give us the 4 gram, there will be a huge loss for them. So the measurement, when we weigh or find out, take the mass of the gold, it is, the measurement should be very accurate. So such kind of accurate measurements we'll be using in our daily life, as well as in the case of scientific research or science branches. Coming about the error, so this is also one of the word which we'll be using when we carry out the measurement. The value of every measurement contains some uncertainty, so it is very rare for us to calculate the exact true value of that quantity. Okay, these uncertainties, that means uncertainties means it is not certain, or it is not the correct, or it is not the true value. Whenever we carry out the experiment, there will be some uncertainties. We cannot avoid them. Okay, we can just make that uncertainty as small as possible. So these uncertainties are called as errors. So they are nothing but the errors in our measurement. The difference between the real value and the observed value or the measured value is called as an error. So there is a true value of a measurement, and I have observed some, I have measured the length. For example, I'm talking about the length. So the length of the book is 10.23 centimeter. Okay, but I measure it as 10 centimeter. Okay, my instrument is not so good, not so well that it can measure the millimeters. Okay, so I found it as 10 centimeter. So there is an uncertainty of 0.23. The true value is 10.23 centimeter, but the observed or the measured value is 10 centimeter. There is an uncertainty, right? So that uncertainty is nothing but error, which is equal to 0.23 centimeter. The faulty instruments and the human eye can lead to inaccurate values. So the sources of errors are nothing but the human eye. We say parallax, right? So some people, when we measure, we see it from different directions, right? We don't go for sitting at one place, straightly looking into the scale or the measuring instrument. We will not be using it properly. For example, you have seen the screw gauge and the vernier calipers. So what we do, we have to find out the coinciding divisions in both the cases, right? The vernier scale, which division is coinciding with the main scale. In the case of screw gauge, which division is crossing the zero axis of the pitch scale, right? So all those things, when we see, they are very minute things. So when we are measuring using such kind of an instrument, we should be very clear. We should be sitting at one place with the proper concentration. We should be measuring the length, and one more thing, we should be looking into the instrument, keeping that straight to our eyes, not to one side, one particular, not downwards, not upwards. They should be very much straight to our eyes. Okay, so such kind of errors are nothing but human errors. And then another thing is faulty instruments, that also will give us the error or inaccurate values. In order to get accurate values of measurement, it is always important to check the correctness of the measuring instruments. So what we can do to correct the to get the most accurate value is that we need to go for corrections, like we did in the case of vernier calipers and the screw gauge. We do calculate the zero errors, right? So such kind of errors, if you calculate, and that error will be subtracted or added depending upon the type of error. So that will give us the accurate values, more accurate values. Okay. Then also repeating the measurement and getting the average value can correct the errors and give us the accurate value of the measured quantity. The same quantity I will be measuring for repeated times, like 4 to 5 times, and then I'll take the average of those 5 measurements. Then there is a possibility that it will give us the most accurate value. So these are this is nothing but what you mean by error, what can lead to errors in the measurement, and how actually we can remove the error, thereby getting the accurate measurements. So that covers the first unit, that is measurement, of your 9th science. So after going to the whole chapter, just start solving the exercises given at the end of the text. Just we are going to revise what we have studied in the first lesson. So the first thing which we studied is about the physical quantities. So the quantities which cannot be expressed in terms of any physical quantity are called as the fundamental quantities. For example, length, mass, time, temperature, and etc. And we know that there are 7 basic fundamental quantities. So another type of physical quantity are nothing but the derived quantities, which are defined as the quantities which can be expressed in terms of other physical quantities, or the fundamental quantities are called as derived quantities. For example, area, volume, and density, etc. So after that we studied about the SI units. The unit is the fundamental quantity with which the unknown quantities are compared. Meter, kilogram, second, Kelvin, ampere, candela, and mole are the SI units of fundamental quantities. Here there is a mistake. You can see um, the capital letter K in kilogram, it should be in small letters, and the Kelvin also should be in small letter. So we have seen in the case of rules for writing the SI units. So whenever we are talking about the scientist's name, and we are using it as the name of a, sorry, using it as the unit, we should be starting it with a small letter, and kilo is a prefix, that's why it will be in small letter. To find the length or the thickness of a smaller dimensions, vernier calipers and the screw gauge can be used. So the least count of the screw gauge is 0.01 millimeter, and the least count of the vernier caliper is 0.01 centimeter. To express the larger distances, special units are used, such as astronomical unit, light year, and the parsec. So you should know the exact values, the conversion from meter to astronomical unit, meter to light year, meter to parsec. Then we even studied about different types of balances used to measure the mass of an object. They are nothing but the physical balances, common balance, digital balance, and the spring balance. Then we have studied major differences between mass and weight, and we have even understood that in day-to-day life we misinterpret mass as weight. Okay, so where the mass is nothing but the amount of substance or amount of matter present in an object or a body, whereas weight is the amount of gravitational pull experienced by the object. So weight is a force, whereas mass is the amount of substance. Okay, so that was then we saw that um, the SI unit of mass is kilogram, and SI unit of weight is Newton, and mass is a fundamental quantity, weight is a derived quantity. Mass can be measured using physical balances or common balance, but weight will be measured using the spring balance. So that was about some of the differences between mass and weight. In the last video itself we have seen it. Then after that we even studied something called scientific notation and rules for writing the SI units. I hope you remember all those units, where you have to use the small letter, where you have to use the capital letter, and then how actually how much should there be any gap between the number and the SI unit, and the punctuations after the SI unit, all those things you need to remember. So that was a quick revision of the chapter which we dealt for 7 days, for example, precisely 7 weeks. Okay, so going to the mind map. So it was about the measurement. Then in the measurement there are three pillars exactly. One, it is physical quantities, another is the SI units, and the instruments. Okay, so when we talk about the first pillar, so this I am considering as the first pillar, this one as second pillar, and this one as third pillar. So first pillar is about the physical quantities. Okay, so in the physical quantities we divided it into fundamental and derived. So under that you studied how many fundamental quantities are there, and some of the derived quantities which you have already studied in the lower classes. So then, so that was about the first pillar. Then the second pillar, corresponding to the physical quantities, there is something called units. So that units, there were different types of units used in the previous ancient times, and also in the modern era, but in years in centuries ago. But after the Second World War, it was decided that it was thought that there is a necessity for one single standard system which should be used by all the research people, or all the science people all over the world. So that brought the birth of SI unit, which is called as SI system of units. So under that we studied fundamental units. So the fundamental units are nothing but the units for the fundamental quantities, and then we studied the derived units, nothing but the units given for the derived quantities. Okay, so then under that pillar we studied how exactly these SI units are written. There are some rules and regulations based on which these SI units are designed or decided. Then after learning these two pillars, we moved into the final pillar of the lesson, nothing but the measuring instrument. So we talked about all the physical quantities and their units, but how exactly we measure those physical quantities? What are the instruments coming into picture when we talk about the measuring instruments? In this, mainly we focused on measuring the mass and measuring the length. Okay, so coming to the length first, um, we talked about, or we studied about, two new instruments. They are nothing but vernier calipers and so there is a mistake in the spelling. This was taken from your textbook, but still there is an error in it. So we know that they are nothing but the vernier calipers and the screw gauge. So vernier calipers, when we studied vernier calipers and the screw gauge, the first and the foremost thing we studied is nothing but their description, and then we went on talking about their least count, and then zero error and the zero correction, and then how exactly we use the instrument in measuring the finest and the smallest lengths. Okay, so one more special quantity which we learned in the case of screw gauge is the pitch of the screw gauge. So that was about two instruments which we studied, actually very new thing to us, right? Other meters and the balances which we already know it actually. So these are the two things. And in case of measuring lengths, we even said that there are different special units which we'll be using. They are nothing but astronomical units, parsec and a light year. So that was about measuring the length. And devices or the instruments used for measuring the mass are nothing but the common balance, spring balance, digital balance, and the physical balance. So these are the major things which we need to focus in this lesson. So how exactly they are connected, you can see through this mapping. So here comes an end to the first unit, that is measurement. So I hope you followed all the video lectures, and it was of some help to you. So after going through all the videos, just go back to your textbook and have a thorough reading and solve all the exercises.